Hello everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Well, here we are at the end of another run of Black Sabbath, and I'm not even done yet, there's still more Black Sabbath to come. We are talking today about Black Sabbath Dehumanizer. This was the second time that Dio reconnected with Carmen Apici, or Apici, I'm sorry if whichever way that is that I'm saying it wrong. Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler. This is the band that recorded the Mob Rules album. Fantastic album. This album does not live up to it. This album doesn't live up to the Sabbath moniker in general, as far as I'm concerned. Released in 1992, this is the 2019 reissue with the second bonus disc. I've bought all the second bonus disc albums with Dio as the vocalist for Sabbath. Figured I'd keep it up for this one. If you can tell by this look, I'm not impressed that I did. Alright. I can't blame grunge for this album being I will blame the state of metal, though, on this album a little bit. Being 92, grunge really wasn't a factor on this album when it came to recording, producing, etc., etc. The problem with this album, I think, is honestly too much Dio. From what I've read with details, Dio wanted to bring Simon Wright, who was his drummer in Dio at the time, in to do the drums on this album. Geezer and Tony quickly put their foot down on that, and I think that was probably a good idea. And the reason I think that was probably a good idea is I think that would have given Dio even more control of this album than he already had. And I think it would have come out worse than it was. Let's just get into the songs, because you already are getting an idea of how I feel on this album. So the album opens up with Computer God. Not a good lead into this album, honestly. It's pretty stock for Black Sabbath, for starters. Right away, it feels a lot more like a Dio solo outing from around that time. The chorus is decent, but it's not enough to save the song. After that, we go into After All, and then in brackets, The Dead. Basically, everything I just said about the last song applies here too. I do like the multi-tracking on Dio's vocals. It does create a cool effect from time to time, but this is a blink and you'll miss it kind of song, you know, and it happens every time I've had this on, whether I'm walking outside, working on the computer, it doesn't matter what I've been doing when I've had this album on, I seriously just blink and this song is gone. Then we hit TV Crime. I hated this song. For the very first time I heard it, I hated it. However, the song grows on you like a bad fungus. It has a very punk-like aggression to it. There's kind of it's got that leaning into the tempo kind of thing, you know, that giving it that little extra kind of edge. The lyrics, while trying to be insightful of the times, are kind of meh. CNN really kind of changed the scape of the world in a manner of speaking, and then you had like Court TV and all that other crap out. Cable television, man, the big explosion. You know, TV Crime, though, realistically, you could easily translate it into it's a YouTube crime. You know, that's how it feels. After a few times, though, I got to admit, the song, I don't mind it. I can't help but find myself singing along with the chorus. And I really dislike the chorus, but I still sing along with it. It's a complicated song without being a complicated song. Letters from Earth. I enjoy this one while the album is playing, but rapidly forget about it afterwards. Master of Insanity. This one honestly feels like a throwaway song to me, and I will be coming back around to this one 100% for sure. I just wasn't overly impressed. And when you read the back of this and you see that Master of Insanity was a single, and, you know, like the only single theoretically, or at least the only one that got a single edit. So, you know, I'm thinking it's the only one that actually got single status. I'm like, who the hell picked the singles out for this one, man? It just, that goes in a time machine. The chorus is catchy. Musically, this one's one of the better songs for standing out. But it still really doesn't quite feel like Sabbath. A little closer to the Mob Rules era, but still not quite there. And it's not like, I mean, okay, so if this album had been released right after Mob Rules or within 2 years of Mob Rules, I could say maybe it was kind of an evolution off of Mob Rules. But this being like almost, I think, a full decade after Mob Rules, just kind of no. Sins of the Father, this one feels like it could have easily have been on Black Sabbath 13. Which really is cool in one regard, but kind of sad if you think about it a little too hard. Might be one of the better songs on this album if you are looking for a true kind of Sabbath experience, because it is really kind of a very Sabbathy kind of song. Sins of the Father really, to me, feels like it was written more with Ozzy in mind and ended up being used for Dio. Then you got Too Late. This one, I actually think is a really good tune. Totally feels like a Dio song to me until you hit about the 2 minute ish. Or no, sorry, not 2 minute, but a minute long marker, minute marker. Then it really kind of gets the Sabbath juices flowing. It shifts around between the two different vibes of kind of Dio and Sabbath as it goes through. And this one also really feels like it could have fit on 13 as well. I do think this is one of Dio's better vocal performances on the album. This one, it could have been on 13, but I definitely think like it's a Dio tune. This doesn't feel like it's a Ozzy tune or a song that was written for Ozzy that kind of got pulled over to Dio. It really does have a Dio's. It is really one of the better, like, representative of what I would have expected from Dio and Sabbath being together. It's got more of that good solid blend, whereas a lot of the other album just kind of feels a little Dio-y, or you know what I mean? Dio-y. Yeah, it just sounded horrible. Okay, moving on, sorry. Then we hit I. This is the first song on this album that I knew, and I knew it because of the Ronnie James Dio tribute album, specifically called A Tribute to Ronnie James Dio. I never would have guessed this was a Sabbath song. I honestly thought this was from one of Dio's, middle year albums. Because this one, to me, feels like it's Rainbow. There's something about the arrangements and the guitar styles in it that made me think it was Richie Blackmore, not Tony Iommi. I will say that I do dig this version a lot better. It sounds more Sabbath. But it's a bit Rainbow too. Like there's definitely a Rainbow vibe to this song. I want to say that Iommi and Blackmore had even maybe been working together at this time or whatnot. I've been hanging out, jamming or something. There's just something in there with I. Then the album finishes off with Buried Alive. This one's big, thick, crunchy. Sounds like it belongs more on the Dio album Master of the Moon. That's kind of how I feel. I'm going to get into the second disc because there's two discs. if you are a Dio fan, more of a Dio fan than I am, you may like Dio's music, Dio's solo music. You may appreciate this album, the first disc, the core album itself, more than I honestly do. You know, I was looking for something that felt more Sabbath like, you know, something that just kind of, hey, to say, reeked of Iommi riffage. And the solos in here are pretty good, and there's some good riffs throughout it and whatnot, but there's just. The lyrics totally fail to connect with me. I original album was produced with by Mac for Musicland GmbH. I personally would have loved to have tried to produce this album and see what we could have done to make this album a little better. I think there was definitely some better. There was some good groundwork laid down here, but that's it. It's good groundwork. You know, it could have been better. This should have been the demo album. Then we get into the bonus track stuff. We got Master of Insanity, which is a single edit. Wrong song for a single. So the wrong song for a single. And the edit does no favors, really. The edit cuts out almost a full 2 minutes of the song. But even with cutting out that 2 minutes, it really doesn't save the song. Like it focuses more on the instrumental side of the song, I think, which is fantastic, but not enough. Then you got Letters from Earth. This is the B-side version. Slightly longer, about 25 seconds longer. I'm going to say that when they were putting the album together, they were going with vinyl timing maybe or something like that, so they shortened it down. I don't know why they trimmed it. It doesn't really make a huge difference either way. And then you got Time Machine, the Wayne's World version. I really didn't pay enough attention to notice a difference. There is a difference because, you know, the songs have 2 different time lengths. But I just really wasn't paying attention enough to care anymore. Sins of the Father, Too Late, I Am Buried Alive is honestly where this album was at. That's where the single should have been. That's where they should have went with it. Okay, we're going to come around. The rest of the album is... What we got? 6 tracks here? 6 tracks. And some of which were previously unreleased, some of which have been released before. This is live at the Sun Dome in Tampa, Florida, the 25th of July, 1992. What we get is Children of the Sea, Die Young, TV Crimes, Master of Insanity, After All the Dead, and Neon Nights. Children of the Sea, I don't understand. I don't understand the fascination Dio has with it. I don't think it's one of the better songs. Of all the songs they could have pulled out to play live on this tour, this is not one of the ones I would have personally picked. Too Dio for me, not enough Sabbath for me. Then Die Young, literally the same thing I just said. Master of Insanity. It is a new song for the live stuff, so that's kind of cool that way. Not the song I want to hear live. I should have been in one of these, okay? Really should have been. After All the Dead, once again, at least it's a new song, and the part that pisses me off is they cut out the drum solo at the end. You can hear that they're leading into a drum solo, and then it goes out, and then it goes into Neon Nights. And Neon Nights is, you know, Neon Nights. It's been done. So when I look at this collection with the bonus tracks compared to the other previous 2, I think they could have done better, and they should have done better. With the bonus tracks and stuff like that. They overuse some of the songs on certain albums, and I don't think they gave enough attention to other ones. Would I recommend Dehumanizer? Well, if you're Black Sabbath completist, then yes, you have to have Dehumanizer. I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes. Uh, even if you're a Dio completist, you have to have Dehumanizer. It's just the way it goes. Do I think that the casual listener should pick this up? No. Do I think this is a good album for someone to pick up if they're getting into Sabbath? Hell no. Do not buy this album if you are just getting into Sabbath. Even if you're just getting into the Dio Sabbath, don't get this album. Mob Rules or Heaven and Hell first, by all means. I don't care which one of those you get first. You get the other one second, then you get Dehumanizer, okay, if you have to. I was very disappointed with this album. There is one more album. It is not technically a Black Sabbath album. It is under the title of Heaven and Hell, but it is a Black Sabbath album. It is Dio when he joined Sabbath one more time, a third time for a studio outing. Third time meaning, with a gap in between, because you got Heaven and Hell together with Mob Rules back to back. Break, Dehumanizer, Break, and then the next album, which name I don't remember at the moment, but that's what I have the little pop-up thing on the screen for nowadays, right? So I will be covering that album. It's on order. I just have to wait for it to come in. And the reason why I will be covering that album is I've got to get to recording, the Black Sabbath Dio years rap party. So I want to finish off the Dio years. Anyways, folks, that's it. I'm done with this one. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, the little bell for notifications. There is a link that will take you to Patreon. I do have a locals coming soon. I keep pushing this. I got exclusive content that'll be going on there. It's going to be interesting. Anyways, until the next review, thanks for watching. Peace, love, take care.